Alright there, YouTube. So it's been a hot minute, but what I figured we'd do today is build a computer that's right behind me. It's for my nephew, Alexander. He's gonna start getting into the content creation. I think this is gonna be dope for his very first computer, so stay with me.
Release the KraKen.
Alright, so it's gonna be a non-conventional type of video. I haven't done one of these in a very long time since I built my computer. What we're going to do is we're going to go over each part. There'll probably be a different camera angle every now and then. We'll throw it in just to show you what we're looking at. But let's just get started right now on the unboxing. All right, so let's just show you what we're working with here. $850 watt power supply. Gold rated, 80%, 80 plus gold rated. So that's just going to keep everything efficient. We have some fans in here, RGB, or I should say ARGB. This should just top every little build if you're looking for that unicorn puke. That's what I like. We have a very solid NVMe SSD. Nothing too crazy here. It's a 1 terabyte. It's going to be good enough to do everything you need to store on it. You had to get some RGB RAM. This stuff's actually not bad. So this is rated at 3600. There you go over here. 3600 megatransfers at CL18. Not the fastest, but it's also a really good price to performance. The platform that we're running with is going to be an Intel i5 12th Gen 12400K. Now this 12400K is probably going to be the best bang for your buck. This is technically an item that he splurged on a little bit. So it's the B660M Aorus Pro AX. So it's DDR4. This was on for like 50% off. There is no way we weren't going to jump onto this. This board will carry you through the 12900K if you wanted to go that route. The 6650 XT still has the 8 gig VRAM, which is more than enough. It's solid for... Honestly, this card could probably take you into medium graphics on 1440p. This thing is a beast. And finally, I'm going to need to cut this one open. Don't cut towards yourself, cut away from you. Okay, it's a little secret. This is kind of hard to do one-handed. Not going to lie. We're going to put that away before we cut ourselves. Now we're going to put this phone down just for a second. Honestly, it's to flip it upside down and pull the box straight up. Now it's going to be on its side when you do this. This is the top here. Oh, and by the way, if you're ever going to be building a computer, you shouldn't be on carpet or bedding, but inside of the motherboard case, okay, or inside the box, sorry, it'll have its own little anti-static bag, and we're going to use the box. We'll put it down like this, anti-static bag on top. We'll build everything on top of it. So we'll flip it down. It looks like there's an RGB strip going down here. These should be some RGB fans. You get your dust filter on the top. It looks like it is 2 screws, or sorry, 4. One each corner, just thumb screws to take off the glass panel. Surprisingly, a lot of room to work with, actually. On the very top, you can see the front here. You got your power, USB 3, 2.0, headphone, microphone, pretty standard stuff. Now looking at the back side here, looks like it's just... Ooh, wow, I might actually need tools. Nope, there we go. We're strong enough. We'll just take off these 4. I just want to see what we're working with back here. So it just slides towards you. Lifts right off. Pretty lightweight, so it might fall over. So what's inside this box is I think this is the fan controller. So yes. There's a very simple fan controller. Tons of fan options. This way you can control it off of one header on the motherboard. This is going to be an RGB controller. Take off the little sleeve off of it. Just makes it a little bit easier. Right in here. Can't really see much because this is protective, but you know, you get the idea. Alright, so what I figured we would do is just kind of show you a close-up of every little thing. And kind of like the unboxing of it. So first we're going to start with the motherboard, and the reason for it, again, I'm going to show you what I mean by you can literally just use
the box of this plus the bag that comes with it for anti-static. So if you're not building on something that you should be, at least it kind of works, okay? I have not worked out the angles of this yet. My room is pretty small for recording, so we'll get a better setup one of these days. But this is what I'm talking about with the bag, okay? So this is just the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi. So it just screws into the back of the motherboard, which I'll show you the motherboard in just a second. If you're ever curious about how to build a computer, it's honestly easier than you think. All the instructions are going to be right inside, well, everything. Underneath the insert, you do get some of your like tie downs and your motherboard booklet. This is great. Tells you what you can and can't plug in. The SATA plugins. So if you have hard drives, this is your M.2 tie down. You won't be able to see this. It's the tiniest little thing in there. They're super tiny. A second one. And some standoffs for your M.2s. So depending on the length of them, you can adjust. So this bag that's here, this is an anti-static bag. This is what we would put on top of the motherboard box while we're trying to build it. But here is the motherboard. So again, this is the B660M. So M just stands for micro ATX. We went with a smaller one and didn't need anything too big. Realistically, you only need one GPU PCIe plugin. You don't need two, but you can still use this for other things too. So if you get like an expansion card or something like that, it has its own integrated IO shield. This is actually my favorite feature of most newer things. I couldn't afford it back in the day. Again, this is not for me. This is my nephew. So this is the motherboard he's going to be working with. So like I mentioned, you just grab the box, anti-static bag right on top of it, grab the motherboard, put that right on top of it, just like that. You now have yourself something that's going to be resistant to shock, so you won't damage anything. Linus Tech Tips. Say that 10 times fast. Did a thing on this. You're really not going to damage it, but it doesn't hurt to be safe. Depending on what you want to do, the next thing that you could install is either going to be the M.2, which is what I'd recommend. So that's this. And on this particular board, it goes right here. So there's a little screw on this side here. Hard to see, I know. Terrible shot. We roll with it. There's a little bit of instructions. It's plug and play. Don't worry about the instructions. Not that I'm throwing it out, but we really don't need them. That is all it is. This is 1 terabyte. That's what 1 terabyte NVMe looks like. So you'll see on this side here, there's a little notch. On the motherboard, once we take off that little plate, you'll line it up like so. It'll kind of stick out at like a 45-degree angle. You'll get the screw, push it down, screw it in, put that little silver cap back over it. Screwdriver, you'll just find that little hole right here. There's a little screw inside. Make sure you got the right size, and just unscrew it. You'll simply take this off, and take note, you might have a sticker thingy here. Peel this off, because underneath it, this comes with a little bit of, think of it like thermal pad. It's just going to take the heat away, spread it out onto this heat spreader. That's basically what this is. It's pure metal. Believe it or not, those things can get pretty hot. So again, showing you how to install this, super easy. You'll see the little spot right where we took it off. There's a little spot here, and you'll see there's a standoff. Now, if we measure this up, so just take note of what this looks like. It goes in like so, and I'd press it down, and then you'll see what I mean. It sits up, okay, not quite 45-degree angle, but you get the idea. Then all you do, you make sure there's a little standoff, which you can see there is. So when I push this down, it sits flat. So some motherboards are going to have a plate that already has a spacer on it that's going to hold it down. So that's all you're going to have to do to actually tighten it. So with this one, I don't even need to worry about that. I'm just going to line up this little groove you see on the inside here. It's kind of hard to see it. If I hold it there, you don't really get the look of it. You're just going to press it down together, and now we have it lined up. So I'm just going to get that screwed in. I'll be with you as soon as that's done. Now, as soon as it's done, you also want to make sure you don't over tighten it. You could actually damage something. I would never recommend shake the board to double check, but you know, if you try to move it and it's pretty sturdy, you're good to go. The next one I would do is probably going to be the CPU plus the cooler. Okay, we're just using the stock cooler, so nothing crazy there. Then the RAM, because we've already done the M.2, then we're just going to put it inside the computer case, making sure we take note of any little standoffs that there might be. I'll be with you as soon as we get the CPU installed. Actually, I figured before we do that, we might as well show you the CPU up close and personal. Again, it's going to be the i5 12th Gen 12400. Truthfully, we could have done the one without the GPU inside and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter, honestly. When sales are on, you get the best one. Again, where's my knife? Okay. So when you pop this open, we will be greeted with cardboard! No, inside of the cardboard is going to be all your goodies. So take note of where the CPU is. You don't want it to just fall on the ground. So I just say have the CPU facing up, and pull it out like so. It's really easy. Instructions, don't need it. Pull out the CPU. Now with Intel, you do not have the pins on the CPU, and newer AMD/Ryzen don't have it either. They're an LGA socket, meaning the pins are on the motherboard. So always be careful on the motherboard. You do not want to wreck it. One thing I will point out here, and again, I'm going to do a close-up on the motherboard before we get anything installed. But if you look right in this corner here, in one of the corners, see that little triangle? You match that up to the motherboard triangle, okay? That will tell you the proper orientation. Super easy, can't mess it up. Again, inside the box, some CPUs that you buy are going to come with a stock cooler. And all this means is it's from the manufacturer. AMD does make a better stock cooler, in my opinion. They also have a little bit of RGB, which who doesn't like a little bit of RGB at least? Though if you saw my case, you'd say I love RGB. Now, the reason this is important, though, if you're not going to be buying a third-party one, you need to make sure you're paying attention to this. Throw this out. They're not a bad cooler by any means, okay? You're just going to line it up. This is what's going to go onto the CPU header on the motherboard. And you'll already see it has thermal paste already pre-installed. So when this is installed properly and it puts pressure, it's going to spread out to make sure everything's cooled properly. When I mentioned there's a little triangle on this here, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Bottom left corner, it's very faint. Maybe it has a certain angle. You kind of see it. If you look over here, before we do anything, you'll take note there's a little triangle right there. Well, there you go. Now you can see it a lot better. Right there. So that means the orientation is going to be just like so. Boom. But first we need to loosen this retention rod. So we're just going to press it down, push to the side, lift that up. Then we're just going to grab up here and pull this back. So now we know the orientation. This is going to sit inside there. We just got to take it outside of this. Now that we have the CPU container open, we're just going to simply lift it straight up, line it up, and you'll really see. I can't really get a good angle for you guys. You're just going to line it up, and it should just sit in there very nicely, just like so. Okay? You don't need to wiggle it around, but you can tell. Barely touching it, no movement. So what we're going to do first, we're going to press this down. Bring this down, and then that plastic piece is going to pop right off, allowing you to just take this off. Keep this in case you ever do sell the CPU or anything. This is a great thing that you can use to keep this. So I am going to actually put this inside the motherboard box. So for lining this up, it's really easy. You're just going to take note of the little holes, and you're just going to literally line this up. And I won't be able to really do this one-handed that well, because I can't quite see. Pretty much I'm right on the money. So now that we got the one of them in, typically you're going to want to go in a star pattern. It's really easy. All you have to do is just press it in. And you hear that little click. That's how you know it's in. Then it doesn't matter which one you do on the other ones. So you just press them in. Double check just to make sure everything seems tight. And now if you did it right, you can actually pick it up directly from here. So right from the cooler itself.
Now, before we get the RAM sticks in, you're going to want to take note of wherever it says CPU fan. That's where you're going to plug this in. Now, I already did cheat. I did already pay attention to that. So I'm just going to kind of feed it up and snake it over like so, and then press it in here. Now, take note, you'll see there's a little groove here, and there's a little groove on there too. So you're going to line those up when you're putting this in. There we go. So you're just going to line it up like so. And you don't want to force it in. Make sure everything is still straight and lined up. Now that we got that part in, we're just going to reroute this and make sure everything is snug, kind of out of the way. Because cable management, if you do not do that, if you don't practice cable management, don't buy a computer, please. Totally joking, by the way.
And like last time, I figured we might as well talk about the RAM. So again, we went with the G-Skill Trident Z RGB. What a mouthful. Love the look of these RAMs. I use it in my personal rig. Find that they are more than fast enough. Now, there's two different things you could get. You could get one... you could get 16 gig kits. Typically 16 gig kits, not kits, sorry, single stick of RAM is going to be a B die, and those overclock better. If you're not overclocking, it really doesn't matter. But the reason I like them, I find that they look just so sharp. So here's the one side of it. Now there's some serial codes and stuff on this side, so we're just going to kind of close it, but you'll see it's more of a gray color. So it has two different color tones on it, and this is going to be all RGB, right along the line there. Lining up RAM is very crucial, but very easy. Now we're going to get the RAM installed. Now this is super crucial. Pay attention to your motherboard manufacturer, because most of the time it's going to be number 2 and 4. Okay, so you can pre-open those. Basically, it goes 1 or A1, B1, A2, B2, and you want it in the B channels. But you can always pay attention to your manufacturer for the motherboard to make sure it's in the proper ones. Otherwise, you might have instability issues.
Okay, so once you've made sure you found out which slots are supposed to go in, before you even go ahead and push them in, line them up, and you'll see that there is a little line on the motherboard. Might not be able to show it. You can see when it's lined up or not. Man, the lighting is absolutely terrible here. I'm so sorry, everybody. Now, the way to actually click the RAM in is you're going to do a equal pressure and make sure both the bottom and the top clip in. I need 2 hands to do this one, unfortunately. I can't just force it down because I don't want to break anything. Actually, we're good there. So you can also see that this is clipped in, and so has this one. So we're going to do the exact same thing with this. Now, the easy way to line it up, if you see the barcode thingy there, barcode thingy on this side, just put them right inside the channels, get them figured out, and an equal push on both the top and the bottom. You can see now, we're clipped in there, and we are clipped in along the top. So we got our RAM installed.
All right, so now that we got the RAM here installed, it's already starting to look pretty beastly. What we're going to do is we're going to double check the computer case and make sure all the standoffs are in the exact positions where they should be. You can also see where they're supposed to be. So see, let's see if I can bring this a little closer. We're going to pick on this one over here. So see how it has like those little teeth on it? Any one of those spots is going to be for a standoff. So down over here is another one up over here, one over on that side. That's where you're going to make sure that standoffs are. This way it doesn't actually damage any part of the board. So let's just go straight into it.
So when looking at the motherboard, take note of where the standoffs are. So you're going to see one near the top left, middle, right. And again, you're just looking for the silver markings. Coming down, you're going to have one more here. And you'll see I don't have one in the bottom right or the bottom left. It's actually moved up a little bit. So I need to make sure that same orientation is going to be in here. Now, if we're looking at this, you can actually see I don't have the one, I don't need the bottom one here. These bottom ones are going to be out of the way, so I need one over here, here, and over there. As I mentioned, once you have them relocated, so I just move this one up here, and we don't need the bottom right corner, because there's nothing in the bottom right corner over here, it's just the one here, and everything, I've already lined those up. We're just going to pick it up right by the cooler, line her up, Just make sure it sits nice and snug. We can actually see if you were to push right where those little traces, you can see if it's making direct contact right on the spot where it's supposed to, and it is. Now, it's really good to just separate the different type of screws so you know what you're dealing with. Inside this specific case here, you'll see it actually shows a really good diagram. So it says there should be 4 standoffs. We can see there's 4 right there. There should be 11 hard drive screws, and you can actually see that's more of a flat top, so I put them here. I'm just going to say that's 11 because I ain't counting those out. Power supply screws, 4 of them there, and all the ones that we have on here, these are the rounded head ones there. That's the motherboard screws. So those are the ones that you are going to use in order to tighten down the motherboard.
All right. So we got the motherboard all nice in and snug. It may look a little goofy having such a small motherboard for a computer case. One thing you could say is it doesn't obstruct with airflow. That's just a joke, don't worry. So right now there's going to be 4 or 3 RGB fans on the very front. You might be able to see them better over here. And then we got 3 more fans, so it's going to be 2 at the top, 1 at the back. This is going to give optimum airflow, plenty of intake, enough exhaust, a ton of RGB just to have a lot of fun with. What we're going to do now is we're just going to start putting other components in. So you're probably asking, what do you do next? Well, if I'm being completely honest, there's a few ways to do it. I figured we'll do the fans next. So we just got the fractal ones. I thought they looked pretty clean. The RGB looked quite nice with it. And they're very inexpensive. And I thought a little bit of black will make this case look like a stormtrooper. My nephew likes Star Wars, so I thought that'd be a really cool idea. Plus, most cases are going to have that. Now, comes with 3 fans. I already put the screws behind me. Didn't want to misplace them. One thing to note, the pretty side here that doesn't have the cage that holds the motor in, this is the intake and this is the exhaust. Now, one thing you could do, if you turn this to look like an X almost, can't really do it that well here. Let's just say that's an X. Just wherever these runs go, those runs like here, up over here, that's an X. So air is going to come in through this side and out through the other. So when you're placing this for exhaust, okay, it's going to go out from there. Let's say we were putting it on the top of the case. We're going to go like this. So it sucks the air in through the pretty side, out through the ugly side. It's not fair to say that because they're not ugly fans by any means, but you know, that's just how it goes.
Okay, it's not the best work. I'm going to tidy up where some of these cables are right now. But we got all our runs going where they need to. We're going to get the big old power supply in, put it right into here. Should still be more than enough clearance for us to do everything we need to. And we go from there.
All right. So now we're going to be doing the power supply. It's a complete overkill. We did not need 850 watts. But at least it is rated 80 plus gold. 80 plus bronze is all you really need. And a system like this is probably only going to really need 450 watt power supply. Might even get away with, I'd say 450 sounds about right with what there is, but it gives them options for being able to upgrade what they have down the road. Let's get this open and show you what comes inside the box. So you're greeted with these on the top. Pretty standard stuff. And this is what you're looking like on the inside. Don't eat these. It tells you not to. The brick part goes into the wall, back of the power supply. Since this is a modular power supply, you get all of the little cables that come in here. So there's going to be for like the motherboard, the SATA, the CPU, and the GPU. It's actually not really a bad looking one. It shows all the little rails and stuff that we got. There's the back and gives all the specifications that you'd ever want right there.
All right, well, we got everything plugged in that we need to, except for that awesome little GPU for him. So you can see it's going to intake fan or air this way, or it's going to suck in air from here, because you can tell it's the ugly side. Don't worry, this is for the GPU, so it's not like a missed cable. And then everything else is plugged in. Air is going to be coming in this way, and it's going to be sucked in and out. So we have good enough airflow. Everything looks good to set up. I think it's time for the GPU, so let's unbox that GPU now.
All right, it has been a long time coming. We know what everyone really wants to see. It's always the GPU, baby. Let's get into it. So we're just gonna cut this one open. Now the reason we went with this is price to performance. AMD does do better. If you're not gonna live stream or anything, you don't need NVENC. I personally use AMD in my system. Both CPU and GPU don't have any issues. And smart access memory is kind of nice for my system anyways. So let's pop it open and let's see what we're working with here. So you're gonna get the nice little protector on the top. And there she is. Now you can't really see much of it right now. There's other stuff behind it. It's gonna be like instructions, whatnot. But we really want to let's just see the GPU. So I'm gonna leave all the plastic parts on for my nephew to be able to take off at any point. It's really easy to do when it's in the system. Same with the back plate. It's nice that they're doing back plates on even smaller GPUs. And the beauty of it, it's only one single 8-pin connector. So you don't even have to worry about doing anything else. It draws the rest of the power right from the PCB itself. And then it does come plugged in or installed with one of these protectors. You're just gonna peel that right off. And then you'll also notice on the side here, it has 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. Most cards are gonna be like that nowadays anyways. I am gonna take this peel off. Oh, you have to take the little plugs out. Oh, that is sneaky. It's not even gonna be super satisfying anymore. Dang it. Well, what better time to show you all of the plugins now. Display, HDMI, and display. That was actually so nice. All right, let's throw this in the computer and get it powered on. Oh, there she be. A very clean build, might I add. It wasn't actually difficult to build in at all. I just can't wait to power it up, so that's going to be the next thing you see in 3, 2, 1.
And there it is. So I've installed all the programs from the for the motherboard and the GPU. Got the RGB Fusion. So the RAM and the purchased RGB fans, they only do one color at a time, but they cycle through it. Again, the ones that came with the fan look really great, and I love the look on the front. I think this case is really cool. It's just from Deep Cool itself. Really interesting. It's the Matrex 55 V3. The V3 just says it has 3 fans that come with it. The motherboard even has a little bit of RGB. You can't really see it behind the really big, the really large GPU there. It's a small form factor. Like it's just really thick. But that is effectively that's the build. It runs smooth. It comes with its own little Wi-Fi antenna, which also is for Bluetooth, and it's magnetized. It's magnetism. That's fantastic. Again, this here, lift off, nice and easy. Dust filter. Cycle through the colors is this button here. I guess I never did show that, but each time you click it, it'll just go to a different color or a different type of mode. There's probably like 13 modes or something like that. But I know my nephew would absolutely love this one. And if you hold it in, it'll just shut it off. So if you're sick and tired of it, boom, you have a stealth build. You can just use whatever you want. Push it again, turn it on. Super easy. Absolutely think this turned out super well.
Build completed. Turned out super well. You've already seen it. He's super happy with it. I can't believe how well it actually worked. Powered up first time around. RGB, everything was working just perfectly. Got everything updated, as you just saw in that little clip there that I showed when we were looking down at the computer. Just have it now beside me, unplugged, because I'm obviously on my rig. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to do more like this. Again, I have a little business on the side where I'll build your computer. So if you live in Alberta, you can reach out to me. You can ship all the parts to me. I will build it and do the parts picker, everything else like that. I don't mind if you want to build it yourself with at my place. I charge a little bit more for that. We'll discuss prices when that happens. Or if you are anywhere in the world, I can totally walk you through building a PC from the get-go, like from the ground up. I charge, again, a little bit more for that. We can always discuss it. Just email me, sskrakengames@gmail.com. Super easy. Until the next time, though, I hope you have a great time. And, like, follow, comment, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. You know what to do. Peace.